Welcome to our series on relationship archetypes and patterns. We're diving into the psychology behind your relationship habits and helping you uncover your unique archetype. We'll explore common patterns you might face, like power struggles, insecurities, or even the challenges of separation and divorce. Whether you're navigating your own relationships or supporting clients through tough times, we've got you covered. Join us as we share practical tips and strategies to bring hope and solutions to your relationship journey. Here's what we'll discuss: how to break free from codependency, simple changes that can lead to big improvements, understanding how our patterns form and how they can hold us back, steps to repattern your thinking using holistic psychology, CBT steps, techniques, and more. Let's get started on this journey together. People often choose mates who exhibit traits similar to those of their parents, a phenomenon known as assortative mating. Epigenetic influences can make these familiar traits feel more comfortable or desirable, as our brains may be wired to seek out what we have known since childhood. Due to familiarity and comfort, the brain does not like uncertainty and can signal a threat to survival. Therefore, the primal mind will often attach to familiarity as a source of safety, although it may often be more threatening than the unfamiliar, due to our epigenetic inheritance or psychological programming that I like to refer to as epigenetic psychology. Epigenetics studies how genes interact with the environment. It looks at how environmental factors change gene expression, combining hereditary and environmental influences. This adds a new dimension to psychobiology by considering multigenerational effects on behavior and health. If previous generations experienced trauma, the epigenetic changes resulting from that trauma can affect emotional health and relationship choices. Individuals may subconsciously seek partners who replicate familiar patterns associated with that trauma, for better or worse. Known as transgenerational trauma, the psychological environment shaped by parental figures influences epigenetic changes, which can affect how we perceive social norms and mate selection. This conditioning can lead us to favor mates who fit established familial or cultural expectations. For example, appearance, behavior, or lifestyle similarities. If a parent demonstrates health and fitness as a priority, then it is common to find a mate that also exemplifies those traits as well. In cases where individuals resist their epigenetic inheritance and swing the pendulum to avoid repeating their parent or siblings' patterns versus learning how to change the gene expression through correct adaptive responses. The tug-of-war in our relationships often reflects what psychotherapist Stephen Karpman calls the drama triangle. This model highlights three key archetypes that can entangle us in unhealthy dynamics: the domineering persecutor, the enabling rescuer, and the fearful or helpless victim. These archetypes represent a social framework that shapes our codependent patterns and power struggles, leading to resentment instead of appreciation within our intimate and primary relationships. This dynamic can also be passed down through family generations, creating cycles of behavior that persist until they are addressed and repatterned. Whether your relationships are thriving or facing challenges, it's always beneficial to explore deeper solutions when conflicts arise. If we want to resolve relationship issues, we need to look behind the curtain and address the root causes, rather than just applying temporary fixes. At the heart of each of these archetypes lies a sense of powerlessness. Understanding this can help us recognize these patterns in our relationships, allowing us to break free from them and cultivate healthier connections. By healing these dynamics, we can transform our relationships into spaces of mutual respect and love. In relationships, we often find ourselves in what's known as the drama triangle, taking on habitual roles: victim, rescuer, or persecutor. While we might have a primary role we identify with, we can easily oscillate between these positions, experiencing all three throughout our interactions. These roles are typically learned in our family of origin, shaping our patterns in relationships. Each archetype offers a certain payoff or emotional reward, which keeps us engaged in the cycle. For example, the victim may gain attention, the rescuer may feel needed, and the persecutor may feel a sense of control. The key to breaking free from this triangle is to recognize these payoffs and find ways to deprive ourselves and others of these emotional rewards. By addressing and resolving our unmet needs and perceived voids, we can prevent these dynamics from monopolizing our lives. This awareness allows us to foster healthier, more fulfilling relationships, free from the constraints of the drama triangle. Before we explore our love languages, it's important to consider how we perceive life. Our perspectives are shaped by subconscious programming, the lens through which we see life, which often comes from our family backgrounds, societal influences, and limiting beliefs. Many of these beliefs form during our formative years, especially prior to the age of 7 when our subconscious is highly impressionable. Understanding these patterns helps us recognize how they influence our current relationships. We'll also discuss how we can begin to reprogram our subconscious to create healthier dynamics. Often, our blind spots stem from the unmet needs we experienced in childhood, like love, affection, or attention from a parent. If a child feels that their emotional needs aren't being met, they might perceive themselves as unloved or unworthy during those tough times. When these needs go unmet, they create a subconscious pattern that can carry into adulthood. This feeling of lack, whether it's not feeling good enough or deserving of love, can shape our beliefs and fears in relationships, which is why it is crucial to understand the correct repatterning techniques and belief recoding steps as we thoroughly cover in our therapeutic panacea system. Even if parents try their best, kids can still internalize those gaps and assign a specific meaning to it, leading to deep-rooted feelings of unworthiness. Understanding this can help us identify and address our blind spots, ultimately leading to healthier relationships. Often, the unmet needs from our childhood get transferred to our partners or spouses, without us even realizing it. Because these patterns feel familiar, we may unconsciously expect our partner to fill those voids and provide the love and validation we didn't receive growing up. This dynamic can shape our primary love language, how we express and receive love. If we felt unloved in certain ways, we might seek that validation from a romantic partner where the love felt devoid, which creates dependency and a recurring pattern in our significant relationships. The good news? Once we recognize and address these perceived voids, we open ourselves up to receiving love in all its forms. By understanding these patterns, we can create healthier, more fulfilling connections. Recognizing our codependent patterns is the first step and key to our healing, whether that's through relationships, substances, or other coping mechanisms. These patterns often arise from unmet needs, particularly from childhood. When a child feels neglected or unseen, they may develop coping strategies that lead to unhealthy behaviors in adulthood. Participants in codependent relationship patterns typically adopt a primary role, such as a victim, enabling rescuer, or persecutor, when entering entanglement triangles, though these roles can shift and participants may alternate between each of them. They often learn their habitual roles in their family of origin. While individuals may identify with one role, they ultimately cycle through all positions on the triangle. Each role within the triangle has its own payoff for the player in which each participant feels dependent on. It's crucial to give attention to these unmet needs and perceived voids. Often, the emotional patterns we inherit can be some of the hardest to break. For instance, a child seeking love and affection may feel unloved when their emotional needs aren't met, leading to feelings of unworthiness. The impact of shame and fear can trap us in a cycle of feeling undeserving of love, which manifests in various ways, including poor emotional regulation and escapism, thus creating our re-looping saboteurs. If we're not careful, these unresolved feelings can persist throughout our lives, affecting our relationships and our ability to connect with others. When unmet needs are transferred to our partners, we may unknowingly place expectations on them to fill those voids. This is often driven by our primary love language, how we learn to receive love as children. For example, if we didn't receive enough physical affection, we might crave it intensely as adults. If we didn't feel loved or deserving in our youth, we will likely also battle subconscious feelings of unworthiness and invite more lack or further struggle. That's why it's crucial to understand the proper adaptive responses to overcome detrimental programming that can last a lifetime. Even if you don't employ our healing programs to rewire old patterns, then finding other resources and psychotherapy sessions can make a tremendous difference in removing stagnation through recurring patterns and gaining forward momentum. Exploring love languages. Let's take a moment to consider your primary love language. Have you ever thought about why you relate to it? The dynamics of our childhood often shape our expectations in adult relationships. For someone with a fear of abandonment, their love language might be quality time because that was a need left unmet. It's essential to recognize how we might be projecting these unmet needs onto our partners, limiting our capacity to receive love in various forms. If we expect love only in one way, we might miss out on the abundance of affection available to us. To disrupt the unhealthy entanglements, we must find ways to eliminate these rewards and reduce emotional dependence. The analogy of putting on your own oxygen mask first illustrates that we can't help others until we ensure our own survival. Only when we free ourselves from survival mechanisms can we truly extend support to others. Understanding how love languages can evolve from unmet needs. Once we address our perceived voids, we can truly open ourselves up to receiving love in all its forms. However, if we subconsciously believe we're undeserving of love, we may feel rejected, whether that's a perception or reality. This belief often leads us to expect our partners to provide the support we didn't receive from our parents or caregivers. This dynamic can create a cycle where we either attract partners who are unavailable or end up placing our emotional needs on them. For example, if a child feels neglected and craves attention, that same longing can surface in adult relationships, leading to feelings of neediness or insecurity, often manifesting as codependency. This mindset can make us believe that our ability to feel loved is entirely in the hands of our partner, rather than recognizing and addressing our own past traumas and voids. Addressing past trauma and patterns. To break this cycle, it's important to reflect on your emotional and behavioral patterns. Do you notice a pattern of abandonment in your relationships, such as experiences of neglect or separation? Have you sought love where it wasn't available? To reiterate, we tend to choose partners based on how we felt loved or neglected in childhood from our past conditioning. By recognizing these patterns, we can start to go beyond our love languages to understand how they developed to establish healthier and more empowering relationships. Addressing these issues enables us to take control of our emotional needs rather than relying solely on others. Overcoming self-sabotage and repatterning. Self-sabotage often stems from past conditioning, but once we gain awareness, we can start to reprogram those patterns. The perceived voids we experience can lead to self-defeating behaviors, which are often the root of our struggles in relationships. The good news is that these patterns can be transformed. Operating from a place of fear in our relationships can keep us stuck, making us overly dependent on others and allowing fear to overshadow love. These voids, stemming from feelings of inadequate love, validation, or attention, can manifest in various aspects of our lives, including finances, health, and overall happiness. This sense of deprivation can create a chronic lack mindset, causing us to seek compensation for what we feel is missing. Unfortunately, this often leads to unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as codependency or other addictions. The void can escalate, especially within our closest relationships, resulting in power struggles and unhealthy dynamics. Breaking the cycle. These perceived voids can create a cycle of power struggles and conflict in relationships until we learn to break the pattern. By addressing our inherited emotional patterns, we can begin to transform weaknesses into strengths. This transformation often leads to personal growth and even the potential to help others, as seen in those who become advocates after experiencing hardship. To truly understand ourselves and break these cycles, we need to examine our codependent behaviors. Doing so helps us attract healthier relationships and learn from the lessons life presents. To break the conflict cycle, we have two options. Don't engage in the game. Exit the game, allowing participants to adapt. Dependency rooted in need and lack suffocates the relationship, leading to resentment and a continuous power struggle. Empowering relationships thrive on mutual belief, support, compassion, and understanding. Our programs and ebooks, such as Recode Relationship and Partnership Patterns, offer strategies for breaking these cycles and fostering conscious, loving relationships. When we believe in ourselves and envision growth for others, everyone benefits. There's a beautiful dynamic presented to us within lessons and opportunities in our partnership, the relationship empowerment model, and the high-leverage mirror technique helps to uncover blind spots that hinder our growth and ideal self-iterations. If you're seeking further guidance in your life or relationships, check out our online Panacea programs, which include therapeutic exercises, meditation, and holistic psychology principles. Click the link provided to learn more. Codependency patterns and power struggles are natural in emotional development until we evolve through independent accountability, similar to a child leaving for college. This connection highlights how personal responsibility influences power dynamics and conflicts and the shifting roles people adopt. Cartman's triangle has been adapted for structural analysis, defining the roles of persecutor, victim, and enabling rescuer in family dynamics, primary relationships, and transactional analysis, illustrating how individuals switch roles during conflict. It's important to give our past purpose, assessing how it shaped us and our value system, and help us heal wounds. However, if we wish to have healthier iterations of our lifestyle and behaviors, it is helpful to first recode unwanted behavioral or epigenetic patterns. Several factors come into play. Gaining awareness of inherited behaviors and patterns is the first step. Understanding how epigenetic influences affect one's psychology can empower individuals to make conscious choices and changes. Psychotherapy, such as employing specific psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy steps, CBT, can help individuals identify and challenge maladaptive patterns. Therapeutic techniques can facilitate the development of new coping strategies and behaviors that counteract inherited tendencies. Mindfulness practices encourage self-reflection and help individuals recognize triggers and emotional responses that stem from past experiences. This awareness can aid in consciously choosing different responses and breaking cycles. The brain's ability to change and adapt, known as neuroplasticity, means that new experiences can create different neural pathways. Engaging in new behaviors and thought patterns can help override inherited tendencies, fostering personal growth. Building a supportive network of friends, family, or peer groups can provide encouragement and alternative perspectives. Positive relationships can counteract negative inherited patterns and promote healthier behaviors. Learning about the impact of epigenetics and personal development techniques can empower individuals to make informed choices. This knowledge can inspire change and motivate people to adopt healthier behaviors. Engaging in healthy lifestyle practices such as regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and stress management can positively influence gene expression and help counteract negative inherited patterns. Some individuals may explore practices like family therapy or generational healing to address inherited issues collectively, breaking cycles that affect not just themselves but future generations as well. Resisting epigenetic inheritance and unwanted patterns is a challenging, but recoding these natural propensities is an achievable process, requiring self-awareness, effort, and guidance or support. By actively engaging in personal growth and change, individuals can reshape their psychological landscape and create healthier futures for the long term. If you want more support or would like to access healing programs to address and repattern trauma or relationship empowerment, or become a certified holistic counselor with our healing programs and coaching workbook, then visit Holistic School online or click the links provided, and we're delighted to welcome you.